I'm going to crack this book here and I'm going to go into the section called What is a Decoy? So, what is a decoy? In protection training, the common terminology for the person taking the bite is going to be the decoy. That's what we call them, decoys. The other term for this, which is interchangeable, is the term helper. Now, the term helper and decoy pretty much mean the same thing. Helper is more of a bougie way of saying the same thing, decoy, helper. Some people find the word decoy is a little bit too general, so what I mean by that is they'll go, well, if you put a suit on, if you put on a sleeve, yes, you're the decoy. It doesn't mean you are the helper. The helper is actually more of a training decoy is what they would call them, right? So in general, training or otherwise, we will call them decoys. All right, so let's talk about what is a decoy. The decoy is, when it comes to protection training, is the most important member of the protection team. Okay, it is the most important member of the protection team. This is very key component of our training. The decoy, the person taking the bite, is crucial. You can't have a protection dog, or at least a full, complete protection dog, without a decoy of some sort. It kind of needs to happen. You need somebody to take the bite. And yes, a lot of the training, this is debatable. A lot of people will take bites from their own dogs. How you feel about that? Some people are really for it. Some people are against it. That's not part of this video right now. But even if you are the person taking some of the bites for your own dog, you still need somebody else to prove you're training with. So this is why the decoy or helper is incredibly crucial, because without him, you don't have a protection trained dog. You might have a protection dog in training, but it's not really to that level without somebody else. Okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory. You want to realize that they're key. They're a key component to your training, which is why decoys, I speak on behalf of all decoys, whether you're trial decoys, training decoys. A lot of decoys, a lot of helpers are very underappreciated. They're not really looked upon as that key of a member. Yes, a lot of people are grateful to have them. But a lot of people use and abuse them, and they think of them as they're just there, to take bites from my dog. I have an incredible amount of respect for people who take bites from my dogs. An incredible amount of respect and an incredible amount of gratitude for people that take bites for my dogs, because I know it's hard. I know I'm asking them sometimes to do things that are a little bit unpleasant. The dog sometimes bites a little bit hard. Sometimes the dog will bruise a little bit. So I understand, being a decoy myself, I understand the toll that it takes on your body week after week, month after month, year after year. So I am very, very grateful to all decoys. Okay, it doesn't matter if you've caught my dog once at a trial, or if you caught them once here and there in a training session, or my club members. I'm incredibly grateful to them. A lot of people don't see or appreciate that. And obviously, these people that don't appreciate it are normally the people that don't normally decoy. Normally, decoys appreciate all the decoys. They understand the work that goes into it. But a lot of people that are not involved in that physical aspect of training, to them, they just take it for granted, because they might take a bite here and there, but they don't realize, again, that you taking a bite here and there is different than when you take several bites in a particular day, and then several bites days later. Or if you're working all weekend taking bites at a trial, or even if you're risking your own skin, because sometimes not in training scenarios, not in trial or sports scenarios, but sometimes in protection scenarios, you are in certain occasions you are risking your own skin. You're trusting the handler, that the handler has their gear together, that the dog is on point, that you don't get too close, or that the handler doesn't give in too much room for the dog to nail you physically, and that does sometimes happen. So again, the amount of respect that I have for decoys in general is very, very high, because I understand what they go through, because I go through that regularly. A lot of people don't, and if you don't, I encourage you to just think about it a little bit and just give them that extra thank you, appreciate them. Don't take it for granted. Don't talk shit about them. Don't try to demean their work. Don't try to tell other people how they didn't help you as much as you would have liked to be helped, because how much they know, it doesn't matter. They're still helping you out in the best way that they can. So that's a little bit about the aspect of seeing decoys from a different perspective. Decoys come in a couple of categories. They're trial decoys when we're talking about sports, and then there are training decoys, which apply to any category. That's if you are a police dog, decoy or helper, or a military working dog, contract working dog, decoy or helper, or a sport decoy or helper. Okay, so those are the two categories: trial and training decoys. The training decoy is more, like the word says, training decoy. They're not just taking the bites, but they're actually really reading into what the dog needs, and looking at the micro expressions that the dog is giving, where you as the decoy have to, at a moment's notice, come up with a plan and sometimes abandon your original plan. If the dog gives you something that doesn't really pertain to what you had in mind, but if at the moment you go, okay, I need to deviate a little bit from my plan so that I can address this little thing right here that just showed up. That's what a training decoy will typically do. Now, you might ask yourself, well, shouldn't every decoy do that? And the answer is no. Not every decoy needs to do that. The trial decoy doesn't help you. They're not there to train your dog. The trial decoy, and this is more specific to sport. Now, if you do police work, if you're in the police work realm, the trial decoy might be the event decoy, right? So if some police dog agencies, some police dogs will go to these events that they're kind of showmanship events. And then in that instance, that will qualify more of a trial decoy. And those decoys are not necessarily helping you. I'm talking about sports more specific here now. When you go to a trial, the trial decoy is there to test your dog, to expose the weaknesses or expose the strengths of your training. But the trial decoy is not there to help you. They're there to test your dog. The training decoy prepares your dog either prior to the trial or prior to the event in which they're going to respond as a protection dog. So that training decoy needs to be a decent dog trainer. If you're a decent dog trainer, you have an idea of what the role that temperament plays into their behavior. If you're a decent dog trainer, you understand the concepts of behavior. You understand the concepts of reinforcement and punishment. You understand the concept of timing and how important that is to the training evolution. If you understand those concepts, the chances of you being a good training decoy are higher, because that's what you're doing. You're working with a dog and the dog is in drive. You are rewarding the dog. You are presenting the dog with opportunities to win. You're presenting the dog with opportunities to be challenged. And if you push that envelope a little bit too much, that challenge could turn into a defeat, which we don't want. It has to be just enough of a challenge for the dog to rise up, come up to the occasion, step up to the plate, and then get the reward by either stepping away or by giving the dog a reward, by depending on what application you're training for. So as a training decoy, your role as a trainer is very important. A lot of people don't understand that. So a lot of handlers who don't understand, either they're not dog trainers themselves, or they don't do decoy work themselves, or they don't understand decoy work, They sometimes will just go to, any person. And I'm not trying to talk shit about anybody. Most decoys are decent, in my opinion. Most people who are offering services as decoys, they're decent people. There are some obviously that are not. But in general, I don't think people are out there trying to hurt your dog, trying to scam you. But there are people, in my opinion, from what I've seen, that do decoy work more as an ego trip. So they're doing it because they want the exposure, they want to be able to do it, they want to be able to challenge your dog, sometimes defeat your dog. I've seen that too, where the whole decoy process for them is an ego trip. They're basically in it to see how much they can, they can break your dog down a little bit, how much new things they can try out with your dog so that they can post these things on social media. But I believe most people that offer these services are not like that. I don't think the industry is plagued with people like that. So again, going back to my appreciation for decoys, I don't think decoys, people in general, are doing that to scam you or because they want to feed their ego. I think for the most part, decoys that offer their services, they really want to help you out. Now, there is a level of experience, obviously, that is more desirable than a newer decoy. But to go back to the original point I was making, if I have a dog that needs exposure to a training decoy, I'm going to be selective with whom I trust with my dog. Not that I don't like the person or not that I don't trust the person. It's simply because my dog might need something where timing and mechanics and technique are important. Well, if that's the case, for the particular things that I'm working on, I'm going to opt for a more experienced decoy. If I need my dog to just work through mechanics, meaning I don't necessarily need a whole lot of emphasis on timing and all of that, basically I just want somebody to safely catch my dog, then my criteria can be a little bit lower. My criteria would simply be just catch my dog safely. Just work my dog safely. That's all I want. Right? So the application matters. Where you are in your training and in your dog's training, that matters. If I need a helper that will help me with specific things that I'm working on, I want a more experienced decoy. If I have a very experienced dog and basically I just need exposure to different decoys, then I can lower my criteria, I can lower the bar, and then I just want somebody that will work my dog safely. So I can be a little bit less selective about who I work with if my dog is experienced and he just needs to see different decoys. This is why it's important to understand a little bit, at least a little bit, this process. Now, a training decoy can come in all shapes and sizes. Okay, a training decoy doesn't necessarily have to be incredibly fit. They can be older, they can be not necessarily in the best shape, they can have, some limiting injuries, because the training decoy is typically not going to be taking long bites. Your training decoy, a lot of them do, and a lot of them can. But the training decoy will mostly work on key things that your dog needs worked on. It will work on key things that you and your dog need to see in the training journey. So the training decoy, I've seen training decoys that are older. I've seen training decoys that probably couldn't even do a pull-up, but they might be amazing at helping you with some specific things that you might need. So this is where you don't have to go, oh, wow, that guy doesn't look like, he can squat his own body weight. Although, yes, a certain level of fitness is important, very important. They don't need to be incredibly fit to accomplish the task and help you with whatever specific needs you have that require a training decoy. Okay, so that's where you can look at that through those filters and go, okay, yes, this guy doesn't look like he can do a 100-yard send, but he has the experience and he's got the people that he's helped that give me confidence that this guy can help me address, this maybe couple of things. If I just want somebody to catch my dog safely and I want to work specifically on trial trial pictures, then yes, I don't want a decoy that is going to fall, right? A decoy that my dog is possibly going to injure. So, or might get injured in the process of biting the decoy. So, I want to make sure that these things are in place, right? The criteria will flow based on what you need for your dog. Thank you guys for watching. If you're interested in that information with more detail plus more, I have this book on Amazon. It's called The Decoy Book. And this book has a lot of good information. But the great thing about the book is it has a lot of contributions from very experienced people in the industry. Okay, so it's not a book that I just wrote myself. It certainly has a lot of my experiences and a lot of my knowledge in it. But the highlight of the book is the experience of some of these amazing professionals have brought in. People like Jerry Bradshaw, Bart Ballone, Dave Croyer, Franco Angelini, Tom Rose. You get the idea, right? We have a lot of experience. We have decoys here that are training decoys, and we also have decoys here that are trial decoys. And the input that they gave me here, their experiences was so valuable to make this book such a really good book, in my opinion.